Hello guys, welcome to the Have a Lab. My name is Babatunde Arolo, and today we're going to be talking about identifying solutions to a linear inequality in two variables. So this type of question, right, is just asking us to um to analyze the ordered pair, right, and based on our analysis on that ordered pair, and ordered pair basically means x and y values, right, and based our analysis on that we're gonna determine if a particular equation given to us has a solution or not based on the ordered pair, right? So we're gonna plug in the ordered pair, which is the x and y values. We're gonna plug that into the equation that has an inequality, right? So an inequalities are basically these signs over here, right? So inequalities are greater than, less than, equals to, and all of that, right? That's what inequalities mean. So we're gonna plug in values based on those based on those ordered pairs, and we're gonna plug it into the equation, and we're gonna see if that equation is true. So if that equation is true based on the values we plug in, then it has a solution. But if we plug in those ordered pair and that equation is not true, then it doesn't have a solution. So for example, say we put in 0 and 2, right? And this equation is true for 0 and 2, then we'll put it, yes, it has a solution, right? But if we plug in, let's say 2 and 3, and 2 and 3 is not true, right? When we plug in 2 and 3 in this equation, it's not true, right? Then that means it's not a solution, right? So for other pair 2 and 3, there is no solution. So let's take a look at that. So let's plug in the values at first. So the first value here is 0 comma 2, right? So we're gonna have to plug in those values first. So for x, wherever we see x, we're gonna plug in 0, and wherever we see y, we're gonna plug in 2, because that's how ordered pairs work, right? X always comes before the y. So we're gonna plug in 0 here, and we're gonna plug in 2 here. So this is 5 bracket 0 plus 7 bracket 2 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So we replace x and y with their respective values, right? So this is 5 times 0. Anything multiplied by 0 is a 0. So that's a 0 plus 7 times 2, that's 14, right? Because when we add 7 in two places, that's 14. So 0 plus 14 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So 0 plus 14 is what? 14. So that's 14 greater than or equals to minus 3. And then we know 14 is greater than minus 3, right? Because this is greater than or equals to, right? So if it fits any one of the criteria, so if it fits either greater than or if it fits equal to, it doesn't really matter, right? So as long, because all basically means if one of the if one of the entities are true, right? So all is not saying both of them, or is saying if one of them, if it's either greater or equal to. So in this case, 14 is greater than. So it doesn't really matter. We can also use this so we can say 14 is greater than or equal to minus 3, right? But based on this, it will only be greater than, right? So we can put 14 is greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So because this is true, so it's a solution, right? So yeah, you can pause the video and try for the next ordered pair if you want to like test your knowledge. Yeah, so let's get to it. Let's see. The second one is minus 9 comma 6, right? So we have to plug in the ordered pairs into this equation. So this is 5 times minus 9 plus 7 times 6 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So I really one thing I want to say is I really appreciate it if you kind of like write this down or kind of memorize these inequalities, because sometimes people get confused with it, right? So anywhere you think you can remember, just try to put it down, jot it down somewhere you feel you remember, right? So let's get back to the question. So this is 5 times minus 9 plus 7 times 6 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So 5 times minus 9 is what? Minus 45, right? Because when we multiply 5 times minus 9, basically just gives us minus 45. So this is minus 45 plus, if you use a calculator, 7 times 6 is 42, right? So when we add 7 in 6 places, that's 42, right? So it's greater than or equals to minus 3. All right, so we're left with minus 45 plus 42 is greater than or equals to minus 3, right? And so we know minus 45 plus 42 will be minus 3, because minus 45 is the bigger number here. Sorry, 45 is the bigger number here, and it has a minus in front of it, right? So let's say minus basically means owing, right? Let's say I owe someone $45 and I have $42. If I give the person $42, so because plus basically means I have it. So if I give the person $42, that means I'm still owing the person $3, right? So minus means owing, so we'll just put minus 3, greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So this is minus 3 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? And this is greater than or equals to, and we know minus 3 is equals to minus 3. So it fits one of the criteria for greater than or equals to. So we can say this is true also, right? Because minus 3 is also equal to minus 3, right? So if it's not greater, so it doesn't really matter if it's not greater, as long as it fits one of the criteria for the for this particular inequality, right? So should be good. Okay, so let's look at the next one. You can pause it again if you want to kind of test the knowledge on it. So let's check this out. This is, we have ordered pair 2 and 3, right? So all you have to do, you plug in the x and y values in here, right? So let's look through. This is 5 times the x value here is 2, right? Just 2 plus 7 times 3 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So 5 times 2 is what? It's a 10, right? That's a 10 plus 7 times 3 is what? A 21, right? That's a 21. So we can't just add, we have to work with each of these separately first. That's what we're doing. So you have to work with the brackets first before you kind of add anything, before you combine those two. Right, so we're working with this one first and that one. Just want to make clear. Greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So this is 10 plus 21. And 10 plus 21 is 31, right? So that would be 31 is greater than or equals to minus 3. And so we know for a fact that any positive number is greater than any negative number, right? So 31 is greater than minus 3, right? So because the positive should be greater than minus 3. So based on that, because this is greater than or equals to it, so based on that, this should be true, right? And so this is true, yes, it has a solution. Okay, so let's go for the last ordered pair, which is 3 and minus 5. For x is 3 and y minus 5. So let's check that out real quick. So this is 5 times 3 plus 7 times minus 5 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? Okay, so first we'll evaluate both sides. We say 15. This is 5 times 3, 15, right? Plus 7 times minus 5. That's minus 35, right? So this is 15 plus minus 35, right? Greater than or equals to minus 3, right? We just multiply 7 and minus 5. Plus 7 is still the same thing as 7. So let's multiply 7 times minus 5, which gave us minus 35, right? And we know we can't have two signs, right? We're gonna have to multiply one of these two signs together, right? So when we know when we multiply plus and minus, it gives us a minus, right? So this middle place here is going to be a minus, right? So this 15 minus 35 is greater than or equals to minus 3. So 15 minus 35 is what? Minus 20, right? So this is the same thing as saying I have $15. I owe a guy $35. If I give the guy $15, that means I still owe the guy $20, right? And owing is a minus. So it's a minus 20 greater than or equals to minus 3, right? Okay, so how I want to think of this inequality is that, let's say minus 20, right? Minus 20 is it greater than or equals to minus 3, right? If you look at it as an aspect of those positive numbers, 20 is greater than 3, right? So let's say plus 20 is greater than plus 3. We know that for sure. but minus 20 is not greater than minus 3, right? And so the reason it's not greater than minus 3 is because minus 3 is closer to 0 than minus 20, right? So minus 20 is further from 0 than minus 3, right? Because when, okay, so as we're counting down, right? So let's say we're counting down from 0 to a negative number. So it goes 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, right? So so let's say we're counting from minus 5 or minus infinity to positive infinity, right? So it goes like from minus infinity to 0 to positive infinity. That's how numbers go, right? It goes from the smallest ever number it can to 0 and then to positive infinity, right? And so since minus 3 is closer to 0 because it goes 0, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. Minus 3 is closer to 0 than minus 20. So that means minus 3 is bigger than minus 20, right? And so based on that, this equation is not true because minus 20 is not greater than or equals to minus 3, right? So since it's not greater than or equals to minus 3, we can say that it's false. And since it's false, no, it doesn't have a solution. Let's check that out. Yeah, yeah. So thank you very much for watching the video, and I really hope it helped you with whatever you had going on. And yeah, have a nice day.